Good evening. I would like to call the December 13, 2022 regular city council to meeting, acting in its capacity as the successor agency to Hemet Housing Authority in order. I would like to point out that this meeting is being hosted through live stream on the city's website and by Zoom teleconference. City Clerk, can we have a roll call?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Krupa.
Here.
Councilmember Mills.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Meyer.
Here.
Mayor Lilienthal.
Here.
All members are present.
The invocation will be done by Holly Temez, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance with Mayor Pro Tem Carly Meyer.
Lord, we just ask that you would bless this council meeting. I ask for wisdom for every council member. I pray for blessings upon each council member, those going out, those coming in. And I just ask, Lord, that you would give us such great wisdom and favor as a city. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, members of the public may only comment on items 6, 7, and 8 appearing on the agenda. Please note that item 17 will be for public comment on all other items on the agenda, as well as the general comment. So please adhere to the following. Comments be limited to 3 minutes or less, and comments should be directed to the council as a whole and not directed at an individual council members. City Clerk, are there any registered speakers?
Thank you, Mayor. There are no registered speakers, but I would like to call out on the Zoom call. If there's anyone on the Zoom call that would like to speak, now is the time to raise your hand, and I'll give you just a few moments to unmute yourself or raise your hand. Seeing none, Mayor, there are no registered public comment.
Next, we'll move on to item 6A, certification of election results. City Clerk, may we please have a report?
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the City Council, I have a brief presentation, oral report on a council resolution approving and reciting the fact of consolidated general election results held on November 8th, 2022, declaring the result thereof and such matters as provided by law. Just a brief recap. We had several calls from the public in interest in potentially running. We had 7 members of the public who pulled papers. We had 6 who qualified ultimately. And I will read the results as provided by the registrar of voters that were provided on December 1st, 2022. And the results are attached as an exhibit to the staff report and exhibit to the resolution, exhibit A. And those results read, the City of Hemet transaction and use tax continuation measure H, voter turnout was 43.60%, with a yes vote with a total of 11,353 votes at 57.99%. So that is yes in the affirmative. And then we had 2 winners ultimately for districts 2 and 5 respectively. The first being Jackie Peterson. The voter turnout for that district was 47.54%, with a total of 2,745 votes at 62%. And for City Council District 5, Linda Krupa, voter turnout 36.79%, winner by 988 votes at 36.43%. And those are the results thereby declared by the City Clerk and Registrar of Voters. And tonight, the staff recommendation is to adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hemet, California, reciting the fact of the consolidated general election held on November 8th, 2022, declaring the results thereof and such matters as provided by law. And I'm ready for a motion or second, Mayor.
I move to approve.
Second.
Council, please cast your votes. That motion passes 5-0.
Next, the city clerk would administer the oath of office to the newly appointed City of Hemet council members. May we please have Councilmember Krupa and Councilmember Peterson approach the front of the dais, please. Right there is good.
That's okay. At the same time. Is she on?
Yes.
Yep.
Council members, if you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Linda Krupa and Jacqueline Peterson,
And Jacqueline Peterson
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the United State of California,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I will support California against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will support California against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
If you'll sign respectively, and that will be official.
Are nice. I wrote with it earlier.
You're leaving on me? Yes, yes, I will make a copy, of course. And congratulations to both of you.
Next, we will move on to City Council reorganization. City Clerk, may we have a report?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, it's a brief report as we will be selecting or calling for nominations for the office of Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor to serve until December 12th, 2023. And so I'd like to ask to call for any nominations to appoint the first position of Mayor.
I would like to nominate Joe Males for mayor.
I'll second.
We'll do a roll call. Motion by nomination, excuse me, by Councilmember Peterson, and a second by Mayor Lowenthal to nominate Joe Males as the next mayor. Councilmember Peterson. Councilmember Krupa.
No.
Councilmember Males.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Meyer.
No.
Mayor Lowenthal.
Yes.
That motion passes 3-2.
I would like some further discussion on this, please. There are some items that should disqualify Mr. Males from being the mayor again this soon. He did not, I know we don't have a policy against not being the mayor pro tem, but he only was the mayor pro tem for 2 months. And Mr. Males, I would like to know, how many council members have you spoken to about being the mayor?
Just one.
You spoke to me about it, and who else?
When did I speak to you about it?
When you decided in January or February, when you wanted to be the mayor, you let me know that you wanted to be the mayor.
I believe you asked me if I wanted to be mayor, and I probably said yes, but I don't recall the conversation.
So understanding the way the Brown Act works is important if you're going to lead our city, because knowing the rules of the city are vital to leading the city.
Mhm.
And so understanding the Brown Act and violating the Brown Act is like having a secret meeting, and it's illegal. It is.
Going that route.
It's true. And it is the
Interesting,
truth.
very interesting. Just because I didn't back you on certain things, this is what we end up doing.
I am not the one who violated the Brown Act. We're talking about you.
I violated the Brown.
Okay. So who else did you talk to about being the mayor?
That's-
What other council members?
That's
Not my business. It's city business.
you or something else. This is what happens when you don't vote the way they want you to vote. It's
This
really
is
bad.
about being honest and transparent.
This is about not voting the way you wanted me to vote. That's what this is about, Carly, and you know it.
Is
You
if it's
know
a,
it,
if
Carly.
I'm lying right now, tell me
Yes,
I'm
you
lying.
are. Yes, you are.
I am
Yes,
lying.
Yes, this is.
How many
really
council
bad.
members, how many council members did you talk to about being the mayor? They're all sitting up here. So even Jackie counts, because when she
no,
was
never talked
elected.
to Jackie about being a mayor.
So I'm just asking for an answer.
Yeah, never
That's
talked
our
to
job.
Jackie.
It's our job as
And-
council members to stand for transparency.
Or something else, Carly.
Is it true or not true?
Not true, Carly. It's something else. This is really bad. This is how you want to be known. If you don't get your way, this is what you do.
I am standing for honesty. You think it's easy?
No, you're not
for
standing
me?
for honesty.
You think it's easy
No,
for
you're
me
not
to have this
standing for honesty.
conversation?
You're
It's not
standing.
easy for me to call
You're
somebody out for
standing
this.
for because you had
I am
an
standing for the
agenda,
city of
and
Hemet.
no, you're not. You're standing for yourself. You're standing for the reason
I'm going
you
to call
backed.
this session back to order, please. Can we move to Mayor Pro Tem?
We didn't get this isn't over. I did not get an answer just now, Mayor.
But you guys can talk about this.
This is in our censorship policy, and we're allowed to ask these questions. And if he's going to be the mayor, I would like to know the answer. Do I have a right, city attorney, to have an answer to this?
Mayor Pro Tem, the item's been voted on, and the vote's been recorded. If you want to make a motion to reconsider, to reopen the item and have further discussion about it, that would be appropriate. But I don't know if having discussion about an item that's already been voted on makes sense from a parliamentary perspective at this point.
I would like to open the item. I make a motion to reopen the item,
To reconsider.
to reconsider it.
That would need a vote of 3 council members to reopen the item, Mayor. Well, you'd usually want to get a second, like any other motion. So, Mayor, I'd recommend asking if there's a second for that motion.
Do I have a second?
Just to be fair, I'll second that.
Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll do a roll call. Councilmember Peterson,
No.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Mills,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Meyer,
Yes.
Mayor Lowenthal.
No.
That motion fails to reconsider the item.
So for the record, we are okay sitting up here, not following the rules of the state of California, even though you two just took an oath of office. We don't have an answer.
Do I have a nomination for Mayor Pro Tem?
I'd like to nominate Malcolm Lilienthal for Mayor Pro Tem.
I second it.
Motion by Councilmember, and by Councilmember Peterson to nominate Malcolm Lilienthal as Mayor Pro Tem. Going to do a roll call. Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
No.
Councilmember Mills,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Meyer,
Yes.
Mayor Lilienthal.
Yes.
That motion passes 4-1 to approve Malcolm Lowenthal as Mayor Pro Tem.
At this time, we're going to take a brief recess to rearrange the seats.
Are you going to do 8B?
After the awards, or after we move.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, it's you.
Oh, wait.
Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting back to order. Thank you. Next, we will move into a service award to former council member Russ Brown. Mr. Brown, may you please approach the front of the dais, please? Hello, Mr. Brown. You looking good there. On behalf of the city of Hemet City Council, we would like to say thank you for your service, dedication, and commitment towards the betterment of our community. On February 7th, 2017, you stepped up to fill a vacancy and took on the responsibilities of a council member for our beautiful city on December 11th, 2018. You were sworn in for your full term as council member, continuing your service towards the city. And during 2020, you led our city as mayor through some of the city's most challenging times. This is just a brief timeline of your tenure here and does not account for all the acts of service you provided for Hemet. Thank you. Would you like to say a few words?
Well, first, I'd like to thank the city staff because they're the engine that gets the things done that council comes up with in the way of policy. And I think that we are blessed to have a dedicated crew of city employees. That's why we call them the Hemet family. They're more than just workers. They are actually part of the family, and I appreciate their dedication to the job, and I wish them well. And I hope that this council, unfortunately, we got off to a rocky start, but I hope this council will embrace the strategic plan that was developed and as the guiding principles for carrying this city forward. We have a real turning point. We're recruiting for a city manager, and we're going to have a new city manager on board, and I'm sure our police chief will be happy to resume his duties as police chief and shed the role of interim city manager. But thank you for stepping up to do that. Eddie, you've done a fine job, and I know you're anxious to see a permanent replacement, as is everybody. And I think with the opportunity of that new leadership and the organizational changes that Eddie has been a part of creating, the die is set. And so there's only one way to go but forward in my mind. And I urge the council to work collaboratively together and give the direction, embrace the strategic plan, and use our good city staff for the purpose that they're intending, and that's providing municipal services to our residents and our businesses.
Thank you, former council member Brown.
If I could say a couple words on behalf of the city and all the staff, we appreciate your dedication. I've served for you as a chief when you were a council member. You provided the oath to me. You've done a great job, worked collaboratively with all the council members, had great discussion, moved the city forward with a strategic plan, which I think benefited all the departments here, gave us a vision, gave us objectives. So we want to thank you for that and thank you for your service. All right, appreciate it. All right. Let's go. It's Brown's way or no way.
Thank you. On the Christmas parade.
Now I will recess the regular session and call the December 13th, 2022 closed session meeting to order. I would like to point out that this meeting is being hosted through live stream on the city's website and by Zoom teleconference. City Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Mayor, that's for when we come back.
Oh,
Yeah, so we're just on the closed session.
oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. I just won't have to say it when I come back. I'm new here, guys. Now give me a break.
You get like 3 meetings.
Oh,
They helped me too.
Oh, good, good.
have it on my computer. No, this doesn't have Adobe Pro.
Oh, you're editing.
Yeah.
I'll just.
You have the PDF? Here. Look.
You gave me a head. No. Good evening. I would like to adjourn the closed session meeting of December 13th, 2022, and call the December 13th, 2022 regular city council meeting back to order. We will move to the city attorney's report from closed session. City attorney, can we get a report, please?
Thank you, Mayor. The only reportable action at a closed session is on item 13B. The city council approved initiation of litigation by a vote of 5-0. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, city attorney. We will now move to communications from the public. To accommodate public comment, we have made some temporary changes to this part of our agenda that were necessitated to comply with COVID-19 directives. A little nervous, so please bear with. My gosh, it's a full house. Okay. There is a 3-minute per person time limit for all general public comments on non-public hearing items. All who wish to speak, including council members and staff, need to be recognized by the mayor before speaking. For those that wish to join by Zoom, you will be asked to raise your hand. If you would like to speak, please state your name and item you're commenting on before speaking. We will take public comment for items listed on the agenda. What do I do here? Oh, okay. Now, do I start from where? Just okay. Pat Gregory.
Record, this is not on the agenda. Is this appropriate time to speak?
Yes, please.
Okay. Good evening, council members, mayor. For the record, my name is Pat Gregory. On August 23rd of this year, I made a Freedom of Information request for information on Measure H, well before the election. Request number R000-600-832-322. I subsequently received 7 emails from the city notifying me of deadline extensions. The last deadline date to produce the information was supposed to be November 24th. To date, I have not received the information that I requested in August. On September 24th of this year, I requested 5 years of crime stats, request number R000-631-090-622. I received only 2 complete years of data. I followed up with an email request for the missing information, and that email was never responded to. On October 11th of this year, I sent an email directly to the city attorney requesting a copy of the Measure U audit that he referenced in his impartial analysis that was printed on the ballot. I have never received a copy of that audit. To be clear, an audit is not the same as an agreed upon procedure. So again, I asked for a copy of the audit that the city attorney specifically referenced in his impartial analysis. The reason for my speaking tonight is to get a public record that every council member, the mayor, the city manager, and the city attorney have now been provided with information regarding the city's failure to respond to a citizen's request for information. To prevent any future issues, I request that this information be provided as soon as possible, as the 10-day period has long expired for all of those requests. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Any response at all, or just?
I would say to Ms. Gregory, she is correct. She has put in a couple Public Record Act requests, and they are long past due. I've just reviewed the Public Records Act system of the city. I see one of them is pending a response. I will get that response to her by tomorrow, and then I'll look into the others.
Thank you. City Clerk, were there any electronic comments submitted to be read aloud?
No, Mayor, and I'd like to call out for the Zoom callers to see if there's anybody on the Zoom call. If you give me just a moment.
Thank you.
If there's anyone on the Zoom call, now is the time to raise your hand and I will unmute you. You will have a few brief moments to speak for the city council, 3 minutes. So we'll give you a few moments, excuse me. Seeing none, Mayor, there's no registered public comment.
Bypass that. Go down. Lucy? No. Okay. Oh, this one. Okay. Okay, we're going to now close the public comments. Bear with us, please. We will now move to presentations. We will start with a presentation to former Mayor Malcolm Lilienthal for his service and leadership as mayor for 2022.
The city services. This is on behalf of the city for your service as mayor for the 2021-2022 year.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Yeah. Thank you, council and city staff. It's been an honor to serve the community. I had a good run, best I could with all the information that was available. And I'm just gonna, be Mayor Pro Tem and continue to move the city forward as a council member. And so I will continue to do the best that I can for everyone in the city, to represent the city, to represent my district, but to represent everyone in the city and just keep this thing moving forward to promote equity and cohesiveness and togetherness in the city. So thank you all, and I really appreciate this.
And he's not done yet because we have a lot of work ahead of us. Okay. Next, we will move on to a certificate of recognition for the Flocorico dancers. I don't know how to speak Spanish. Oh, here, tell them.
Folklorico.
Thank you. Now, who does this?
Can you come up to the front and is Sonia here? Okay.
Are they not here? Oh. Okay, well, let's move on then. I guess, right?
Come back.
Next, we will move on to a certificate of recognition for Raising Cane's, my favorite place. Is Raising Cane's here? No Raising Cane?
Go to the next one.
Next, we will move on to the International Day of Persons with Disabilities Proclamation. Malcolm, would you like to read that one?
So we are doing it a little different. Normally we start our council meetings at 7, but we started this one because we have a large agenda. And so it's a little, that's, people, I think people are thinking 7. So we'll just hopefully that those people show up as we're skipping some of these items. But anybody here with a disability? Don't be ashamed of your. All right, this is a proclamation. This is a proclamation for International Day of Persons with Disabilities. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. And so when I read documents, I don't particularly understand what I'm reading, so I have to have it read to me. I'm an auditory learner. So when I'm reading through things, I read it once and then I have to have it read to me. And then once it's read to me, then I can understand it. Does that make sense? So it's something like that. Whereas the annual observance of the International Day of Disabled Persons was first proclaimed in 1992 by the United Nations General Assembly, and whereas an estimation of over 1 billion people live with disabilities, the world's largest minority group, the City of Hemet recognizes that true inclusion and participation of persons with disabilities involved equal opportunities, independent living, and economic self-sufficiency. Persons with disabilities are entitled to respect for their human dignity, regardless of the origin, nature, visibility, and degree of their disability. Far too often, persons with disabilities face differential treatment and discrimination, and celebrating the International Day of Persons with Disabilities on a yearly basis opens space for a much-needed conversation about the invaluable contributions and needs of persons with disabilities. It also creates awareness of the further actions needed to make Hemet a more inclusive and welcoming place for all individuals. Therefore, the mayor of Hemet, along with the Hemet City Council, do hereby proclaim December 3rd, 2022 as International Day of Persons with Disabilities, and in doing so, I call upon everyone, employers, schools, and other community organizations to observe this day and advance its important message that people with disabilities are equal to all. Thank you.
Next, we will move on to the International Volunteer Day proclamation. May we please have Eddie Ortiz approach the dais.
This is for you, sir, because Eddie works at Valley Restart, and he's very passionate about our homeless community and those who are struggling to maintain their place of living. So when people become homeless, families, they go to Valley Restart, and this gentleman is the person that hooks them up with social services and all kinds of other services that help them go from homeless to apartment or some kind of housing. So International Volunteer Day. Whereas the annual observance of the International Volunteer Day for Economic and Social Development was developed by the United Nations General Assembly on December 17th, 1985. Whereas the annual observance of International Volunteer Day aims to create the awareness of the collaborative efforts that volunteers are making in nearby communities and throughout the world, and volunteers strengthen communities, find solutions to social challenges, and enhance the overall quality of life for all citizens, including children, seniors, those who are disabled, impoverished, homeless, physically or mentally ill, and otherwise in need of assistance. The service of volunteers helps improve around areas of the world by completing any and every task, from mending fences to picking up trash, from painting community buildings to filling a classroom with necessary supplies. Volunteers make a difference by recognizing no task is too small or insignificant. And whereas the City of Hemet is grateful to those who dedicate their time to the service of volunteering, and without their amazing hearts and generosity, our world would be substantially less connected and effortlessly less beautiful. Therefore, the mayor of Hemet, along with the Hemet City Council, do hereby proclaim December 5th, 2022 as International Volunteer Day, and urge all citizens to honor those who give themselves for the betterment of their communities.
Good evening, folks. This is a blessing and an honor. Thank you, City Council, Chief, Mayor. When I was in my office, because I'm in and out every day, and I see the mayor standing in my parking lot, and I'm thinking he's there for some other type of business. So I go in there, says, I need your information. Next thing you know, I get a call from Secretary Brenda, and they say, yeah, you're being honored for this. It's a blessing and an honor because I've never came to the city to beg for anything. I've never went, I know a couple of the police officers out there, the ROC team. And part of what I do is I was homeless for about 4 years out in the streets. So I know how it feels. And I tell people, even my workers, and even when I see other nonprofits out there working, I said, if you don't have a heart to do it, don't do it. Because I know when I was out there, people would talk to me. You guys are familiar with Charlie Brown's teacher, right? Won't. Some things they want to hear, some don't. Out there in the city of Hemet at Valley Restart, our goal is to help the city. We're the only shelter in Hemet. Whichever way anybody can support and help, that's what we do. We're helping the city clean up. There's veterans out there. I go above and beyond to help them get the SSI, help them get the DD-214s. The goal is when I sit there with them, I learn stories, and they're out there for a reason. Before I changed my life and before I lived the life that I live now as a man of God that God has called me to be, I used to turn my back on homeless. I never used to give them money. But now that I understand, some of them divorced, some of them are ex-military, some of them don't know how to walk. Some of them don't know they needed you to sit there and do paperwork with them. I go to Weston Park. I go to a couple of the other parks around here. I partner up with CityNet almost every day. And thank you. CityNet's doing an awesome job, Chief, just so you guys know. We partner up. It doesn't matter what nonprofit you are or what business you are. We all do the same thing for the same purpose. Valley Restart, we're the only shelter. Everybody sends them our way. Unfortunately, a lot of times we're full. We need your help to help us. And the way I think is when we're out there is like, how can we help the city and how can the city help us? You see a lot of them out there, a lot of them have carts. They tell me this is my kitchen, this is my bedroom, this is my dining room. Well, then I sit down and I talk to them. I say, well, let me get you something better. Let me get you 4 walls and a roof over that. There's so many programs out there that you don't even know about. There's so many programs and so much funding that's came forth that it's unbelievable. They have a prevention of homelessness. People who are already housed that had vouchers from being homeless to not lose their home. Whenever I see the ROC team across the street from us, I walk over there and I talk to Sergeant Cunningham or wherever it may be. I'd be like, hold on, don't put them in back of the car. How can I help you with them? If they're not a client of ours, I grab them, take them across the street, I sign them up, and I give my word to the police department. You will not see this homeless in the street again because I'm going to make sure that they get housed. So however you guys can help, just a bag of food and some clothes, or you wouldn't believe the glow in their eyes when that happens. When I was homeless because back in 1997, my 3-year-old was killed by the Metrolink. The 3-year-old and the 2-year-old. It took a tragedy in my life. People think that because somebody's homeless, it's because they can't progress with life. Yes, we can. It's just trauma happens. And it took a mentor just like me, somebody coming into my life. He was actually the chaplain for Fontana PD, and he stood with me almost every day. And he said, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. You're going to make it. Until I got on my feet and I gave glory to God. And I told God, the same way you changed my life, I'm going to instill in somebody else's life. So I know by this reward tonight, family, and those police department chief and council, it's just by the gift that God has given me to move forward and help those in need. Thank you all. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate all you guys' work and your hospitality. Thank you.
backwards here. We're gonna call up the Floco Rico dancers, Sonia Lamas. Oh.
Good evening, everybody. This evening, I'm actually representing the San Jacinto Folklorico dancers. They were unable to be here this evening. But on behalf of the city of Hemet, they are being presented with a recognition certificate.
An award, an award for our Dia de los Muertos that we had. And we wanted to present them with this. They were here a few months back and they were dancing. And I remember one of their dresses got caught on the dais and she kept moving. And I had to figure out how to get over there and find her dress and unravel it. But she kept moving. She stayed in character. And so that kind of commitment to what you're doing and your art is awesome to see. So we wanted to recognize them. And Sonia is going to be here to accept this on their behalf.
And not only is this on behalf of the city, right? The project El Dia de los Muertos was a collaboration with Llamas Housing Project. And on behalf of Llamas Housing, we also are presenting them with a $200 donation as well. Okay. Cool.
Thank you, Sonia. Next, we will have the Hemet highlight reel of the 2022 Candyland Christmas Parade. Right. Next, we will move on to the Hemet Holiday Awards. Councilmember Lilienthal, may you please recite the winners of each category? When you are called, please approach the dais to accept your award.
Starting with the Christmas parade winners. Best Animal Performance. Riverside County Sheriff's Mounted Posse and Color Guard. Congratulations. Do you want to talk how hard it is to ride a horse?
We would just like to say thank you to the city council and the city of Hemet for inviting us to participate in the parade. And it's a pleasure.
Guys,
Thank
remain
you.
standing. We'll get you all lined up and as we go on. I appreciate it. Thank you. And we will get a group picture.
he took it.
Once everyone gets up.
And then next for best middle school band, Diamond Valley Middle School Marching Band. Thank you. Just stand right there. And then for best decorated walking unit, Ramona Paget. You know him? Thank you very much. Best marching unit, San Jacinto Leadership Academy cadets. And best car club, Legion of Muscle Car Club. Best antique auto goes to Veterans of Foreign Wars, post 2266.
Every one of you for coming out to the parade. And we want to thank the city of Hemet and the mayor.
Best motorized was Imagine Schools of Hemet. And best float goes to St. John's. St. John's School. And finally, for this category of Christmas parade winners, we have best high school band, Talkwitz High School. All right. Let's see. You have a few
Nice
words?
picture in there. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2022 Candyland winners.
On behalf of the Ramona Bowl Amphitheater and the Ramona pageant, we are just so thankful of the city, Mayor Lilienthal, and the city council, and also the community coming out and supporting us. We're really excited up there. We're celebrating our 100th season of the Ramona pageant, so we hope you all can get your tickets soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm the band teacher. I'm Jeremy Peach from Talkwitz High School. Pleased to get this award. We've worked hard. It's been since coming back from COVID and all that. So we've been doing very well. Thank you.
Thank you again for all of you to show up here, and thank you for the city council and the mayor in behalf of the VFW. We're very proud to be a part
of this parade and hope in the future to be a part. Thank you.
Thank you all. You may be seated.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have best decorated homes.
Oh, we have that.
For first place, can I have, and I'm just gonna spell it, Aren't family, the Kakani family, and the Martinez family. The Aren't family for first place, Kakani, am I saying it right? For second place, and the Martinez family for third place. Place these proudly in your yards. Any short remarks? No, nothing? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, congratulations. Congratulations, families. And then we have our best decorated business. Headhunters Barbaric Salon.
Thank you to the city and all the residents that voted for us. If you haven't checked us out, come check us out.
And finally, we will have a presentation by our mayor mentees on municipal government. After the presentation, each student will receive a certificate of completion and a scholarship on behalf of the city of the City of Hemet City Council.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. We are Mayor Malcolm Lilienthal's mentees. The Mayor Mentee program integrates the collaboration goal of the city's strategic plan. It provides high school students the opportunity to learn about municipal, statewide, and countywide government.
Hello. I'd like to introduce our group of mayor mentees. To start off, we have our Hemet High students, who include Eliana Thorette, Leah Munsinger, Ricardo Ramiro, our Alessandro students, who include Catherine Snow, myself, Zoe Hatke. Then we have Josephine Bond from Tockwitz High School and Sebastian Hillowin from Western Center Academy. Mayor Mentee program, the purpose is to shadow the mayor and learn about municipal government, including how the county and state work together. Requirements when joining this program would start off with completing the application. Along with this application, you must include 2 letters of recommendation from your teachers and a personal statement including your highlighted achievements. You also must be enrolled in a Hemet Unified School District as a high schooler while maintaining a 2.7 or higher GPA. The types of activities we do in this program are things such as touring the facilities that run our city, learning about the way local government works, and helping plan city events. During the process, we have made great friends and grown more connected with our community.
Here's some city history. The Hemet area was originally inhabited by the Kuya people, and then in the early 1800s became a ranch for Mission San Luis Rey. After Jose Antonio Estudillo was awarded the land, he later sold 3,000 acres of it to E. Mayberry, A. Judson, and P. Potts. During 1891 to 1895, when the Hemet Dam was being built, the town site started to gain some prosperity. There were hotels and businesses being built and open. Hemet was officially established on January 20th, 1910, after T.S. Brown made a speech urging the town residents to vote for incorporation.
Hemet, California is a council manager-run city. The people appoint the city council members, and the city council members appoint the city manager. The city council has many responsibilities, including enacting the laws of the city, the review of proposed policies, and attending city hall meetings. The city manager is responsible for appointing the many directors of the various departments of the city. He acts as the advisor to the city council and prepares and manages the annual budget. The city does a lot for the community, including but not limited to the public fall festival on Harvard Street, the Christmas parade, the newly opened fitness court at Mary Henley Park. CR&R hosts multiple public cleanup days to get trash off the streets, and there are public movie nights in the parks.
A county is an administrative region within a country. It is created for the purpose of managing land and affairs with people. Counties vary from size and separate states into different areas. Counties help the state protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens. Counties run health departments. Using county roads, they provide safe passage from one city to the other. They prosecute crime on behalf of the citizens. They also manage elections. Counties also have the power to sue or be sued. Counties are in charge of cities that lack local government, like court systems, waste collection, law enforcement, medical care, fire departments, and register services. Cities and counties function differently. A city is a municipal corporation chartered by the state where people govern themselves. A city is organized by a community. A county is an administrative subdivision of the state. It is not created by the citizens who live there. It is organized by the state to help manage state affairs. A city is made up of a relatively large population, while a county is made up of different cities. With all the counties combined, make the state.
Our other agencies. We work with the Southern California Association of Governments, or SCAG, one of our agencies that we work with. The role that we have in this agency is via council, and this council mainly decides if they agree or not to agree to propositions by the state. The Western Riverside Council of Governments, or WRCOG, another organization that works in a very similar way. The main difference is how the county in its certain sectors would operate. Mainly it's a more localized, and we have a stronger voice in it. The League of California Cities, or Cal Cities, is an agency that expands and protects local control of cities through education, advisory, and quality of life for all Californians, and is an agency that we work with greatly.
What does the state do? The state is in charge of distributing grant funding, a portion of which has been allocated from the federal government. This grant funding is intended to assist small businesses, students, housing, veterans, debtors, and more. The state is also in charge of writing and enacting legislation. I want to highlight some legislation that affects us students. This includes the Universal Meals Program, which provides for free breakfasts and lunches, SB 14, which permits excused absences if you have a bad mental health day, and AB 469, which makes completing a FAFSA application mandatory for high school graduation. The state has an agency named Caltrans, which is in charge of collecting tolls and maintaining state highways, including Florida Avenue or California 74. Certain taxes are levied by the state government, including a sales tax and an income tax. Lastly, because elections were held last month, I want to mention that the Secretary of State is in charge of certifying state and federal elections in California.
Collaboration. Municipal governments are generally organized around a population center and their size can greatly vary. Municipalities generally take responsibility for parks and recreation services, police and fire departments, housing services, emergency medical services, municipal court, transportation services, and public works. Police departments, libraries, and schools usually fall under local government. In general, municipal governing bodies are directly elected by the people. Cities lie within a county within a state. A county is geographically created for political purposes within the state. Counties lack broad powers of self-government that California cities have. The state works with different counties in order to get an idea of what people in the living in them think. Counties are in charge of a group of cities. The city works with the county to make sure the community is being represented and the city gets what it needs. When the city needs something, city officials will have a meeting with the county officials and make sure that they get what is needed. For example, through Riverside County Transportation Commission, there is what is called a Mid-County Parkway, which is an example of how the surrounding cities are working with the county to make Ramona Expressway safer.
As Hemet continues to develop into a diverse melting pot, we can utilize unique talents, gifts, and diversity to help meet the demands of our future. This requires the collaboration, participation, and inclusion from all shareholders, ethnicities, and social economic classes. Using medicinal leadership, it should be reflective of our population. This develops trust and communication within our city and community governance. So let's embrace our unique qualities so that we can help build a better future. Right. Ultimately, our goal is victory in the valley. We're a city in motion, and the only way we can stay in motion is through community partnership. Our success in this valley is contingent on an open dialogue with all shareholders, no matter the political affiliation. And our plans going forward should reflect their needs and wants, while stressing the importance of individual involvement, which is the foundation of the municipal government. This is done through community outreach. We must continue to ask the tough questions. For example, what needs have we not met? What resources or programs can we improve to keep us moving forward? Or what must be done to develop an empowered community where every citizen takes responsibility and accountability? In reflection, this is not an easy task. Yet when the unique talents and gifts of the citizens which embody the municipal government are utilized, the results are a strong volunteer force, where process involved improvement should be the heart of every decision made. So let's stay focused in utilizing our resources to the best of our ability, while remaining focused on the key issues of our shareholders. Finally, we must stay focused on developing socially responsible citizens in order to ensure victory in the valley. This concludes the Mayor Mentee presentation. Thank you. Here. We're not done quite yet. We, as Mayor Mentees, we'd like to present, come on guys, don't be shy. We'd like to present you something very special. We are on something we'd like to give to you. So come on. So don't be shy, Mayor. Okay. So we'd like to really thank you for all the great perspectives that you've given us, and really we benefited really greatly, and we'd like to present you this. This is Miss Veronica's idea, by the way. You know. Yay. That's us. You're in there. And we wrote you a little something nice. Just wanted to share.
Thank you, all. Thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure to work with you all and hearing their different perspectives. A lot of complaints in the beginning and then a lot of understanding towards the end as to how they started to understand how municipal government works. As right now, I'm going to present you guys with certificates on behalf of the city. I have Mr. Boomer here from Jeff Hewitt's office who's going to recognize you at the county level. And then we're also going to recognize you at the state level from Senator Rosalie Ochoa's office. Do any of you want to share your experience?
Well, I guess to start off, when I first signed in, I didn't know what I was doing. I honestly was like, sure, I'll tag along for the ride. And now that I'm here, I'm like, wow, we got here. We did it. All of us did it. We made some great strides to understanding, and overall we learned so much for our local and state and sometimes even federal government. And it really is such a beautiful experience to just see how all this works. I mean, there's so many things. I lived in this town my whole life, still am, and there's so many things I still did not know of agencies, charities, events. Like I only knew like the large events, like say Ramona Bowl, but I didn't know any like the smaller ones and all that. It was like truly, there's like Hemet really does have a few small gems. It really does. It has small gems. Like it has hidden gems and all that. And it really is such an amazing experience. So honestly, this was a really great experience for me, and I would imagine for everyone else here. Anyone else?
On the first day of this program, we were all told that we would do a city council presentation, and at least I was intimidated by that task. I kind of still am, but it was really fun to do this program. I learned a lot. I think we all learned a lot, and it was really fun to tour all the places that run our city, and we learned a lot about government.
Oh.
Really quick, this isn't really like my experience, but Mom, your flash is on and you're blinding me. I just want to say this has been an amazing opportunity getting to work with all these amazing people and the mayor. It's been really like fulfilling and very rewarding to be able to experience this. I've learned a lot from Mayor Malcolm, and honestly, like I didn't expect to enjoy this experience so much, but it's been really fun. I'd like to say thank you to the people on the council board, the chief, everyone. It's been a great blessing to get to know you guys and to really learn more about how this community functions and what it takes and what's involved in all of it. Because we could say and have our complaints and everything, but if we don't understand it from the individual level, then we miss the whole idea. And it was a great privilege to really learn about you guys. So we're really thankful, and it's very important to us to further expand what we know already and to learn more in detail. Thank you.
All right, first up we have Zoe. Where's Zoe? Zoe, thank you so much for your help. You know, with a name like Boomer, you don't need a microphone all the time. Let me get these out here. Next is Sebastian. Sebastian. There you go, buddy. Great job. There we go. Samantha. Hey, great job. Here we go. There you are, clear. Thank you. Next up we have Josephine. All right. We have Eliana. I'm sorry. Eliana, there you are. Good job. Brooklyn. All right. Yeah. Now, my name is Boomer Sheen. I'm the Chief of Staff Supervisor Jeff Hewitt. For the people online, okay. My name is Boomer Sheen. I'm the Chief of Staff Supervisor Jeff Hewitt. He's your Riverside County Supervisor. Thank you guys for going through this program. You guys are the future leaders, and I want to let you guys know that you guys have actually done the hardest part of civic duty. You know what that is? Public speaking. Public speaking is the thing that most elected struggle with. You might be surprised. It's very, very difficult to do. You guys getting up here today is the first step in your guys' future leadership of our valley. Thank you guys so much for all your time and dedication.
And one more bow. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Not behind you.
Thank you, Malcolm. Great job. Great job. Next, we will move on to receive and file. Are there any questions regarding the City of Hemet warrant registers? If not, we will receive and file the warrant registers.
Next item.
I'm sorry. Next, okay. Next, are there any questions regarding the City of Hemet investment reports? If not, we will receive and file the investment reports as well. The City Council procedures for public hearing will be as follows. Staff will provide a report and clarification of items presented. The public hearing will be open for comments for those in favor of or in opposition to the item, followed by a rebuttal to any comments made. The public hearing will be closed, and the city manager may respond to any questions raised by the public. The public will not have an opportunity to respond. Discussion will be brought back to the City Council for direction or action. Can we get a report from the staff on this item? No?
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Veronica Allen, Management Analyst with the City Manager's Office. This public hearing is to begin the fiscal year 2023-24 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan process. The purpose of this public hearing is to provide the community an opportunity to express their interests or concerns on community needs and priorities to the council in preparation for allocation as identified in the City of Hemet Citizen Participation Plan. It is anticipated that the city will receive approximately $872,957 in CDBG funding for the 2023-24 program year, or July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2024. Regulations established by HUD for receiving CDBG funding require citizen participation in evaluating funding needs and priorities. The funding needs and priorities identified here will be considered in the funding recommendations for the 2023-24 program year and recorded in the 2023-24 annual action plan. A public notice for public comments were placed in the Press Enterprise and La Prensa, and no public written comments were received. Application packets for the 2023-24 CDBG funding year were available on the city's website with a due date of December 5, 2022. 20 applications have been received and are currently being reviewed. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any comments from council on this item? If no comments from council, I'll open the public hearing. City Clerk, do we have any registered comments or speakers?
Thank you, Mayor. There's no registered speakers, but I'd like to call out on the Zoom call if I may. If there's anyone on the if there's anyone on the Zoom call that'd like to register to speak, now is the time to raise your hand, and I will call you momentarily. And it seems like I just got one. We can have that too. Seeing none, Mayor, there's no public comment on the Zoom call.
What do I see their names now? Not on this item. So do I just hold it? Oh, okay. Where was I? With that, I will close the public hearing. Are there any further comments? Can I get a motion and a second? City Clerk, may we have a roll call?
I'll make a motion.
What are we doing?
I believe the motion that is being recommended by city staff, stated in the agenda, was to, let's see, hearing and consider all comments from corporations. I don't think you need to take action at this time.
Yeah, I mean, we're preparing the plan, right?
Right. And so I believe, I don't know, did Veronica leave already? Veronica, can you confirm that we're simply receiving comments on the proposed action plan for the next, for 23-24, and they don't need to take action at this time?
That's correct.
Okay.
Just
Thank you,
receiving
Veronica.
comments.
Necessary, Mayor.
You set me up on it. No.
I didn't write the script, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So we go down.
So we have 20B. And you will need to vote on that one.
Okay. Can we get a report from staff on this item, or do I have to read anything else, or do they know what we're talking about?
So you would introduce it as 20B, the general plan amendment, and ask for the staff report.
Okay, okay. We're going to bring up 20B, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hemet. Can I get the staff report read, please?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. I'm David Leonard, contract planner to the city and managing the planning grant program. Coming to you tonight is a item under the organization effectiveness of the plan, analyzing the potential impacts on transportation and infrastructure in the city. This GPA fulfills a state mandate under Senate Bill 743 to change the way the traffic impacts are analyzed under CEQA. More particularly, it analyzes vehicle miles of travel rather than operational levels of service. The shift focuses from upgrades to the transportation system to accommodate growth, to methods to change travel behavior and to reduce air quality impacts. It also encourages development of infill sites throughout the city through a project screening process that would exempt infill projects from the VMT level of service, and we'll get into that a little bit later. It also encourages alternate forms of travel to reduce VMT, vehicle miles of travel, and a level of service and analysis is still required as part of the VMT analysis to determine consistency with the city's general plan circulation element. This is part of the SB2 planning grant program. To date, there has been a ordinance change to create objective design and development standards. There has been an R3 zone adopted along State Street to encourage affordable housing. There is a memorandum of understanding under negotiation with RTA for a transportation-oriented development center. And this is a general plan amendment to fulfill the requirement of the state to establish VMT standards. The city of Hemet has also retained the firm of Fair and Pierce to prepare guidance for CEQA and VMT analysis. I should add, Fair and Pierce also developed the provisions for the guidelines for WRCOG in the county of Riverside, as well as working with the state in developing those standards. They identify VMT thresholds and methodology and screening criteria for the city. They've updated the Hemet general plan circulation element, of which there's a markup that was included in the packet, and to produce traffic impact analysis guidelines that was also included in your packet. The method of determining traffic impacts is established through several steps. The first one is to create a project. I'm moving from place to place because the mic's over here and the words are over here. A project scoping form that allows for some general information from the applicant to be provided to the staff in order to determine the level of analysis required. The state guidelines allow for a generous exemption for projects from vehicle miles of travel analysis. And we have used that very liberally in this case. It normally will exempt anything, any project, any land within the city of Hemet in the downtown core area. Now, I'd say normally if there's something that's unusual, such as say somebody wants to come in with a professional baseball stadium and develop something along several blocks of that, that's a little unusual. So that would not fall under the exemption protocols. But if it's something that's commercial, residential, institutional, anything along those lines, they would be exempt from these guidelines. And that's part of the screening process. The staff will then review that the proposal and make a determination under step 3 of go or no go on a VMT level of analysis. And if it is a go that you have to do the VMT, then you work with WRCOG in the modeling program they've established to determine the types of trips are created, the length of trips. In other words, it's behavior or the type of the characteristic of trips that are created for the modeling analysis. If the project falls under the thresholds established by the County of Riverside, then the project is deemed consistent for that purpose. If it exceeds those thresholds, then there are mitigation measures that have to be implemented. Those might include redesign of the project to reduce VMT below that threshold, or to implement TDM, transportation demand management measures. This could be work hours, ride sharing. It's mostly business oriented, or to participate in a yet to be created VMT fee or mitigation exchange bank. And I want to also add that Paul Herman of Fair and Peers is online to assist in responding to any questions the council may have. This proposal was circulated to the various tribes that review all general plan amendments and specific plan amendments. It was a 90-day review under SB 18, and that process was completed with no comments. We also had it reviewed by the Airport Land Use Commission, and it was deemed consistent with their Hemet Ryan Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan. And finally, it was received the public notice as required generally for all general plan amendments in the city of Hemet. The city has reviewed the proposed amendment, found that it could not have a possible direct impact on the environment, therefore it is exempt from CEQA. And with that, we're requesting that we actually would request that the city council, rather than the planning commission, adopt the resolution finding the project is categorically exempt from CEQA, and to recommend that the council adopt a resolution approving the general plan amendment. With that, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions the council has.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any comments from council on this item?
Yeah.
Carly?
For the record, we still have not updated the general plan. Is that correct?
With the
online, the updates
Yes,
that the
is
council
correct.
has made?
That the markup has not been amended online until the council adopts.
So you're
this.
only asking for the VMT approval tonight?
No, and the GPA to amend the circulation element. There's two parts: amend the circulation element and approve the guidelines.
Okay, I thought we were going to wait on the circulation until the traffic study was completed. We had a conversation about this. After the infrastructure committee, they made recommendations, and then we had a meeting about it.
Okay.
Yes, just for clarification, this is for VMT this evening only. There's a text amendment in the circulation element of the general plan that will only identify the VMT amendment. There are no other amendments tonight.
Okay, and then on the red line version, we need to make sure that that information is correct, because when information is presented to the infrastructure committee that is not correct, then I don't trust any of the documentation that I received for this meeting tonight. You understand how it creates a distrust?
Yes.
So I have a hard time approving this at all when I know that there are things that are not correct in our documentation. That's hard for me to do.
Yes, and this evening is VMT only. The items that was reviewed by the Infrastructure Commission has been eliminated from this proposal and will come back to the council with the project included.
Thank you.
Linda?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you, Carly, for bringing that up, because we did have quite a spirited meeting regarding.
If I could amplify, two of us are working on different parts of this. I'm working on the BMT and
Okay.
and other staff are working on the other amendment. And so that other amendment has been excluded from the proposal coming to you
Correct.
tonight.
Okay, so my question is on this, that we're approving the vehicle miles traveled element portion of circulation, and that quote project, which is the VMT, is exempt from CEQA, and you were going into different models of how future projects do relate to the VMT, and you can do some mitigation on it and whatever. None of those projects will be not subject. I'm going to do two negatives here, and it's going to come out to a positive. Projects that are regulated by VMT, if they don't comply or don't fit the particular model, how do you get them through?
Okay. As I said, in the downtown area, they're going to be exempt simply
Right.
because they meet the criteria.
Right.
If you're getting down toward the Dominagoni Parkway, you're probably going into areas that are going to be required to do the VMT and modeling analysis because they're outlying areas. And in fact, we did have one specific plan amendment 2 years ago where the Senate bill had just come into effect, and we had them do the VMT for that before we even had guidelines for it. But we followed the procedure set forth by WRCOG and got it through under that analysis. So there is a pathway for those projects to proceed. It's just a question of the type of analysis they use, the lesser, which is level of service only, or adding VMT to that analysis. And there's some time and expense involved in that. If they exceed the thresholds established by WRCOG of what the limits are for vehicle trip length, then there's a menu of different options they can do. They can revise the project to reduce the impact, or they could pay into the mitigation bank that exists or will exist, or they could implement TDM measures, transportation demand measures, and those are oriented towards commercial, possibly could be residential if there's a homeowners association, where you have some kind of order or guidelines or requirement where you manage trips through ride sharing or park and ride facilities, or working with RTA or other forms of transportation to establish facilities in that area. So there's access to those other forms of transportation.
Okay, let me just follow up on that just a bit, because, and I understand that this is a kind of a work in process, except that we all have to obey what comes down from the state. And while we can mitigate some of future projects with the TDM, is that what you called it? And ride sharing and public transit and all of that stuff. Is there any mechanism in place that says we can mitigate but don't have to enforce? Because how can you force people to do something they don't want to do?
In that instance, I would see if Paul Herman is on the line, because he has done these all over the state. And I've got one case that I've handled in Hemet, and I'm just wondering if he's had comparable experience and if the clerk would be able to bring him up.
Be on the line.
And he's been monitoring the hearing.
Paul Herman. You're live with the city council meeting.
Hello, you have Paul Herman here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good evening, council. So the question was, if a project completes a VMT analysis and in their environmental impact report and results in an impact and has to agree to mitigation measures, how will they be enforced? Or was the question, if there are mitigation measures forced on a project, will people be forced to not drive? Because I think they're two different questions, but both very good questions. Yes. So, most TDM measures that are going to be enforced as mitigation measures are going to be voluntary programs that make it easier and more accessible for people to not drive their personal automobiles, such as take transit or bike or other mechanisms, but there is no requirement that every user of a new business or subdivision would be required to not use their own automobile. Essentially, what would happen is if an impact is designated similar to any other section of an EIR, feasible mitigation measures would need to be proposed. If those are agreed upon, there is some monitoring to make sure that the project is responsible for implementing those to the fullest extent and providing those types of services or subsidies or whatever the TDM measures are required through that environmental process. But if you want to drive to your new, I don't know, Walmart, whatever comes in, there's nothing that is going to prevent you from doing that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And then I just have one last question. When we're looking at this and we say that, again, the project is categorically exempt, we're referring to the VMT portion that is going into the general plan. We are not referring to any future development projects that are going to be regulated by the VMT.
Absolutely. These are simply rules and regulations.
Thank you so much. No more questions.
And I don't represent that side of town, but I want to speak for the residents on that side of town that as we are doing these things, we have definitely a log jam on that side of town for traffic. So we need to keep that in mind as developments are moving forward, and that we think of how we can keep traffic flowing. I saw some of the grades on the roads are Fs, and that's unacceptable. So I want to make sure that we try to raise those up a little bit. We can do better than that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. If there's anyone on the Zoom call, now is the time to raise your hand to speak on this item, and we'll give you just a few moments. Seeing none, Mayor, and we did receive one speaker card.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. May it please the Mayor as well as the City Council member. Recently, someone took the initiative to submit a bill to keep Hemet safe. To my knowledge, in order to keep Hemet safe, citizens who live within and around this community, who choose to live a life of citizenship without being hurt and harmed in their communities. Well, yesterday, a lady coming out of Walmart was attacked and brutally beaten for her food coming out of Walmart. I'm asking the council to fire every security guard that works at Walmart right there on Palm, right there. Because for a woman to come out of Walmart and be attacked for her groceries and there's no security guard around, where they at? They supposed to be assigned to protect the people who come, not only come, but to go into the store to make sure they don't get hurt and harmed when they go back to their cars. So to pose a bill to keep him safe, him is not safe when you have tyrants running around the neighborhoods acting like they don't care about human beings of life. That's
I'll make a motion to approve adopting the general plan amendment 21-003 that adds vehicle miles traveled thresholds for the purposes of California Environmental Quality Act and impact analysis exhibits A and B. And that's it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call. Councilmember Peterson.
Being new to the council tonight and not knowing enough about this subject, I am going to abstain.
Councilmember Krupa.
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal.
Yes.
Mayor Males.
Yes.
That motion passes 4-0 with Councilmember Peterson abstaining.
Mayor, perhaps before going on, it does look like we received another couple of comment cards for public comment for items not on the agenda. That item has already passed. That's item 17B, but perhaps you may want to go back to that item and call these people at this time to get those comments onto the record, or perhaps take it up later.
And they're both 17B?
Yes.
Well, we'll just go ahead and go back down. You know which one was first?
This one.
And I have Pamela Atkinson and Rusty Yesford. Step up, please. If we can all go back to 17D.
Good evening to the council. My name is Pamela Atkinson. I am representing Mountain Shadows. I'm vice president on the board. Rusty Yesford is our secretary on the board. What we're bringing to you is our concerns because of our trash CC&R company, and we have a lot of documentation, a lot of proof of several phone calls trying to take care of issues. We have a broken dumpster gate that they caused. We have oil spills. We have a green waste bin that we were told that they would come and pick up after leaving for 2 weeks and promising to be there on a certain day, did not show up for at least 3 days after the fact. There is a liaison that we've been told to contact. He seems a very nice person, but we're still not getting anywhere. We're talking issues that go back to 2020. And it's our streets inside of the resort are horribly stained. They came out, I believe, Rusty, if I'm saying it right, with the power washer, which does nothing. There needs to be some kind of an established the trucks that come in with the big brushes, etc. I'm happy to leave all of the documentation with you. We have plenty of copies at our resort. We just don't know what else to do. We make phone calls repeatedly. We get no response whatsoever, or we get a promise that's not fulfilled. The things are just not being taken care of. We have our recycling, which is overflowing. Birds get into it. It's all over the park. The wind takes it every which way. It's costing us to have maintenance pick it up and clean it. We lose our man hours. We'd like to know, is there something that can be done? How can we get the help that we need to get the service that we're paying for, being that we're required to use CR&R and we can't change to a different company?
Yeah, I'll gladly take the information that you have, and I'll have a staff member call you, and we'll follow up on that.
Okay, that would be great. Is there anything else I need to share with you at this time?
No, we'll keep in contact with you. Thank you.
Okay, how do I give this? Thank you for listening to us and being willing to help. Thank you, sir.
We really need a street sweeper.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get Leonardo Cuevas up, please?
Hello, council members. My concern is about Valley-wide, the organization. I play for a local soccer league that hasn't been permitted to play soccer for about, I'd say a month before the Fairview fire. There's been many circumstances, I guess. One was the Fairview fire, and it had to do with the fire trucks, ruining the fields in Dominigoni. But now we found a solution, which we wanted to use Jerry Searle Park. However, Valley-wide does not allow that. They want to charge us about $1,000 a week to hire security to open the park, which I really don't think is fair. And again, I'm speaking on behalf of myself, but this is what the soccer league is telling us is the reason that we have not played soccer. We're trying to find other alternatives, but they're not offering any type of solution. And this, like I said, has been going on for about 3 months. They don't give any responses. They ignore us, any emails, any phone calls. And yeah, we need some solutions. It's been quite some time. One of the main reasons is there's a lot of people that invest money in their soccer teams. I had just ordered a uniform for my soccer team, and a lot of people are kind of mad at me because I charged them X amount of dollars and we got uniforms and now we're not playing. So it's kind of like creating issues for myself, for other people that are in the same situation as myself. And yeah, I don't see why they're trying to charge us to use Jerry Searle when it's not being used at all. They want to, I guess they want to preserve it for flag football, which I understand, but I'm pretty sure the city pays Valley-wide for maintenance costs. I'm not sure. I did do research and I saw that Menifee is rejecting Valley-wide for the same reason. They charge a lot, but they really don't do as much on the maintenance side, on the building side. I'm not too political, but this is just, stuff that I could dig up. So yeah, I just wanted to know if you guys could do something about this situation.
Definitely, we'll look into that. We've been discussing the soccer issue also, so we will look into it. I
Yeah,
have your contact.
there's no organized soccer playing in grass soccer fields right now. The only other alternative is to play indoor soccer at the San Jacinto place that's here in town, but there's not a lot of us that like to play there. We like to play outdoor in grass.
Right.
It's stuff that.
Well, it's something that the city manager and I have been discussing, so we will get back with you on this.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I also have pictures of the parks. I've been taking pictures and, throughout these months, there hasn't been no maintenance done. I don't know if I could send you guys or if it matters or anything, but yeah, I kind of been trying to do research on Valley-wide and it seems that,
We'll be in contact.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll personally call you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Cuevas, the city manager will also be reaching out to you. If you have pictures of the soccer fields and what happened to them as a result of the fire, we'll be looking for those as well. Yeah. Thank you.
I'll reach out to you. I have your number. I'll reach out to you. Okay. Thank you.
Contact with me. Okay. So 21 here. Okay. All consent calendar items will be acted upon simultaneously unless requested by an individual council member for separate consideration. Are there any members of the council that would like to pull any consent items for separate consideration?
Mayor, may I make a request to continue the following items to the next council meeting in January due
Yes,
to several revisions?
Yes, sir.
It'll be item 21N, 21O, 21P, 21Q. Would like to also add 22E and 22D.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 22C and 22D.
And were you going to pull R also?
We can speak to R if you want to pull it. R is different than the subdivision improvement agreements, which are being pulled. Actually relates to a different function, and it's something that we want to try to get past tonight if we can. Councilmember.
I want to pull 21A. Can I pull? I can pull. Did you
Yeah.
get that 21A?
21A.
And I have a few more too. I have E, A, B, T, and V, please.
I missed. Can you repeat those? I'm sorry.
E, A, B, T, and V. And I have a comment for the record also, please. Our goal needs to be bettering our city and not running these things through as if we're just trying to stamp them. But some of these warrant some serious discussion, and I need that to be on the record for everyone to understand that.
And 21D.
I missed the last part. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so I was keeping track for you, City Clerk. The items that I have pulled are the items that the council members have asked to pull are items A, B, D, E, R, T, and V.
And AB also.
Oh,
Please.
and AB.
AB.
Okay, no, you didn't want A and B.
Right, right.
Okay.
A and
Never
B.
mind. Scratch A, B. Scratch A, B.
I think A was already
We
pulled.
ran
by
out of
someone
letters.
else.
I'm really sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
A, B. And then also noting that N, O, P, Q were continued to the next meeting.
And City Clerk, what I had said was that our goal needs to be not to run and check things off the box, but to have discussion and ample time for policy discussion, because some of these things probably warrant a little bit more time than given.
Okay. And I have a motion to approve the balance of the items.
May I make a comment?
Yes.
Just a question here. Were C and D pulled?
I have D. I did not get C.
I'd just like to make a comment on C.
You gonna pull it or you just commenting?
A comment. Can I make my comment now?
Sure.
Item 21C refers to the regular meeting schedule and the cancellation of certain regular scheduled meetings for the city council. And just to keep a heads up on this, for the last few years, we've been very successful in not having the second meeting in July, August, November, and December. November and December because of holidays, summer, July and August, so that people can go on vacation. However, in prior years, when we canceled these meetings, we ended up having 4 and 5 special meetings because the regular meetings were canceled. So I think staff needs to be very mindful of the fact that if there is business that needs to be done by this body, we don't cancel regular meetings. We go with the schedule of having to do the work of the city. So all department heads have to be very mindful if they've got a public hearing coming up, if they've got any type of grants that need to be done, if there's any type of decisions that this body needs to make, we do not cancel a meeting. And if the meeting has been canceled by what we're doing tonight, then we come back and we have the meetings that we're supposed to be having. That's my only comment.
I have a comment, and maybe we should pull this if you want, but in light of looking for a new city manager, maybe the new city manager would want to even weigh in on the upcoming schedule. So maybe this is not something that we need to do tonight necessarily, but I understand it's convenient.
We could make it a note too, to bring it up prior to the fiscal year, due to the fact that July and August are the days that we're dark one council meeting to move forward. That way we're, at least the new city manager will be aware of the issues we've had in the past.
Right. Yes, just as long as everybody is aware of it.
We get a motion to approve the remainder of the agenda items that haven't been pulled.
I know, I got
Excuse me,
lost.
can we get that list of what we're approving right now?
Very good. So N, O, P, and Q have been continued to the next regularly scheduled meeting in January. Items D, E, R, T, V, and item AB have been pulled for further discussion and would not be approved at this time. So the remainder will be approved by the motion if made. 21A is still on the list that would be approved.
No, pulled. You wanted that one pulled. That's the one I initially pulled.
Okay, so A has been added to the list of pulled items by the mayor.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the items that you didn't mention.
I could go through and list the ones that we are approving. If that's
Would you?
Sure. I regret volunteering for that. So the council would be approving item B, which is the appointment of Felicia Young to the Hemet Library Board of Trustees. Item 21C, which was not pulled, although it was commented on, which is the schedule of city council meetings for the forthcoming year. D has been pulled, E has been pulled. F, G, H, I, J, K, L, and M, which all relate simply to the initiation of proceedings. We're not actually forming any of these districts. That is still being approved. N, O, P, Q, as I mentioned, have been continued to the next meeting. So let's see, next we have R has been pulled. So S would be approved. That's the second amendment to Appendix 2 of the WR-COG agreement for Unix. This relates to solar powered streetlights, I believe. That would be approved. T was pulled. U would be approved. That is a resolution of the city council approving a agreement for repair services. Let's see, V was pulled. W would be approved. That is a public works contract for, looks like resurfacing of a playground. X would be approved. That is the shade structures at a playground at Henley Park. Y would be approved. That is the finance director item.
And can we pull X also? I'm sorry, that's on my list and I didn't get it.
Okay, X would.
Yes or F?
X.
X is an X-ray.
Oh, X, okay. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Might be easier to list the one.
I'll second that.
Do you want me to keep reading? So we have Z. Z is still on the list. So that is the civilian investigator position for the police department. AA is still on the list. That's the violence intervention program coordinator. AB was pulled, and then AC, which is the employee salary ranges. That's a companion item to AA, AB, and AC, is still on the list of approved items.
Very good. I'll make a motion that we approve those items that was just read off by the city attorney. And I'll second that.
I have a motion and second. Council will do a roll call, starting with Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal,
Yes.
Mayor Males.
Yes.
That motion passes to approve the items, and that motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
The first item's 21A, you pulled, Mayor Males. Yes, sir.
Talk about that?
Yes.
Okay. This basically goes back to the agenda item starting at May. And on this one, I've spoken with a couple of people from the Was it Valley? No. What is it? Housing.
Valley Restart.
Valley Restart. So on the first list of 21A, it goes back to May, and I pulled May and looked at it. And on May, it tells me that we had a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Meyer, seconded by member Linda Krupa, and carried a 5-0 vote. And this was to direct staff to work with Valley Restart to allow pallet shelter homes. Now, this was back in May. These pallet shelter homes are still down. They're not even up and ready yet. And I was told if they don't finalize them by February, they can lose their grant. Now, I know we basically moved building and safety and code enforcement over to the fire department. Chief Sell, do you have any update on what's happening over there and why we haven't finalized these shelter homes? Can I get you to come up, please?
Good evening, Mayor and council members and members of the community. Eddie Sell, Fire Chief and Agency Director for the Fire and Life Safety Agency. So as you just stated, we just went through a transition that is frankly still in the finishing stages. So the benchmark of November 15th was basically when building and safety fell under the fire department. And we've been in that transition for the last 30 days or so. I do know that the chief building official that we have now through contract, Carlos Yado, is on this, and he should have a response that I'm going to submit to the city manager tomorrow.
Oh, great. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
And I'm really thankful that it got moved and it's under your care. I have a lot of trust in you, and I know you'll get the jobs done. And one more question though, on Angie's Restaurant that's been down, I think, for over a year or so. Or are we getting close to that opening?
So again, to say that I have a list of things that I'm doing right now is an understatement, and certainly we'll make sure that we address that. The good news is I could tell you that during the transition, we now have folks from building and safety, code enforcement, fire prevention that are under the same roof, and that we're all communicating effectively. So I'll give you some follow-up on that as well.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Welcome. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'd like to have a motion to approve 21A.
I have another comment for A also. I would like for our minutes to be approved after each meeting, just for the future, because for us to remember what happened in May, I would have to go through my notes, and it's a lot easier just to approve them the next meeting. I don't know how we got to this, but that's just a recommendation that I have.
Noted. Thank you.
Concur. Okay, can I have a motion to approve 21A? Get a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve 21A.
Can I get a second, please? Am I allowed to second? I'll second that motion. And can we get a vote?
Council will do a roll call. Councilmember Peterson.
I, again, am going to abstain, and I 100% agree with Carly that each meeting we should approve the previous meeting's minutes, because going forth, a lot of things are determined by the approval of your previous minutes, and it's proper protocol to do it each meeting. So I would hope that that would be a correction. So I am abstaining. Thank you.
Councilmember Krupa.
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal.
Yes.
Mayor Males.
Yes.
That motion passes 4-0 with Councilmember Peterson abstaining.
Okay, let's move to 21D, please.
For the next one, the reason why I pulled it is I just wanted to see if the council agree with me that everything highlighted, I don't want proclamations. I don't think we need proclamations for, and the rest could be approved. Unless other council members want to remove some.
I think that's a good start in removing them. Because you give proclamation for everything, nothing's important. And I would agree with you.
And I think it's important also to note that as things are special in the one year, they may be different the next year. Something may touch someone's life and there's something that would be special and noted. And I think that being flexible, this doesn't mean that you can't add something if you think, oh, wait, I want to do National Bike Month after all. Right. So it doesn't lock us in, I don't think.
And there are times when other entities will come and ask for the proclamation. I think those mean the most is if the organization that they are representing asks for a proclamation, it's more important because sometimes we do this and nobody shows up.
True, certainly.
When I have one more thing here, we have the Marine Corps birthday celebrated. Why don't we have the Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard?
We have military appreciation.
Okay,
That's all you need.
Okay.
And I appreciate them.
And just to add a quick comment, my staff's been very thorough in just verifying all the proclamations that we've done in the past year. So we were keeping the master index as we had discussed at the previous council meeting earlier this year. So absolutely, we're, whatever needs to be added or not included, we'll make those amendments.
So I'll make a motion to approve 21D if you take everything highlighted off.
I'll second that.
We'll do a roll call. Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer, Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal,
Yes.
Mayor Males.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0. Item E.
Now we'll move on to 21E.
Okay, I pulled 21E so that I can point out the fact that sometimes the public doesn't always get to see the things that we do as far as this goes, but a property that appraised for under 6 million was sold for 8.2 million. And so people think your council doesn't do anything, and sometimes we do. And so this is a 30% return rate. And I also wanted to thank our former council member, Michael Percival, for putting this project together. So thank you, Mike.
And if I could just add to that, the city attorney is looking at me. I don't know how this ever slipped by everybody, but last night at 11:30, I'm reading this and I went, that property is not on the corner of Stetson Avenue and North Sanderson. It's on South Sanderson. Anybody who knows where Stetson is knows it's South Sanderson. And then the city attorney says, yeah, but you've had that description on there for the last 2 years. So somehow we need to change that description and so that it is correct. And I don't know if that's by elimination of the word north or whether you insert the word south or just put a reference someplace.
If you were to make a motion, my recommendation would be to approve the resolution with the amendment, removing the reference to North Sanderson and simply replace it with South Sanderson. Councilmember.
And that should be Carly's motion.
That is my motion to approve 21E, removing north and replacing it with south.
And I would simply advise all city staff that when we have items coming before the city council, it's important to include the cross streets with the geographic markers so they know where the project's occurring and also make sure that those references are correct.
Yes, and those north and south, east and west are Florida, east and west, and State Street, north and south. And I would second Carly's motion.
I'll second.
May I make comments on this? Okay. I did some research on this and I have some concerns about it. The company that wants to buy this land only wants to put down $100,000 for an 8.2 million property. That is not much of an investment, which means that they could walk away from it at any time and not go through with it. And also in the proposal, it says that the city, while it's in escrow, cannot accept any offers or make any other offers with other parties. So we could have this tied up for years. And the company that wants to buy it seems like they just buy property and they kind of wait to see who's going to maybe purchase it from them, rather than them having a vested interest in the property themselves and building it and owning it. So it doesn't look like a good short-term or even mid-term investment. It could drag on for years. And it just seems like there needs to be more discussion on this. That it looks good, 8.2 million, but what if it doesn't sell for many years? And what if it gets resold? And who do we know is going to buy it after that? So if we sell this property, it could be sold a couple different times, and maybe we don't like who's going to buy it. And then we're stuck with that because we don't have any say in it. If we go along with this, we lose all rights to any other decisions on that property. We can't do anything. We don't have a vested interest in it anymore. So we're stuck with that decision.
Can I make a few comments?
Yes.
Part of the information that we got in closed session in our negotiations is closed session items, and you'd have to call the attorney to get the information from him, but there are details that are not public. So once you get those, then you'll understand but again, if you don't want to vote on it, I totally understand.
Yeah. Mayor, perhaps I could address the new council members' concerns here outside of closed session to allay some of those fears. So the first thing I wanted to note is that the process of disposing of this property has already taken years. The city tried to dispose of this property, I think 15 years ago, and about 15 years ago, and was unsuccessful. In 2020, the city council declared it surplus property and ordered the city staff to begin the process of selling it. That included the appraisal that's referenced in the staff report, which came in at a little under $6 million. The hiring of a real estate broker. The city council hired a real estate broker in January of 2022 that didn't take a percentage, took a flat rate, which saved the city several $100,000, and they were very helpful with us. It involved many meetings with lots of people in the community, including former council member Michael Percival. To the $100,000 point, you may be right. That may not be the kind of deposit you're looking for. That was part of a sealed proposal that was provided to the city council in closed session that they considered, negotiated, and they accepted. And that they finalized and put into this agreement, which I brought forward here for approval. I know it's the first time the deal is being discussed in open session extensively, but I would caution against thinking that means that this hasn't been thoroughly vetted by the city council and your colleagues. As Councilmember Meyer mentioned, those things happen in closed session for a reason, because if the people we're negotiating with know what we're willing to accept, it sort of makes it hard to negotiate with them outside of that, right? So perhaps more would have been appropriate, but that wasn't the direction we were given at the time. As far as the developer, I don't have extensive experience with this developer, but I have worked with them on another project in the city, diagonally from this project. They spent $250,000 to overcome an environmental challenge. They have been involved in extensive litigation with another business in the community that's trying to stop them from developing that corner. They've stuck it out when most developers that I've interacted with would have said, you know what, it's too hard to do business here. I'm out. That's my anecdotal experience with them. I haven't gotten the impression that they're land speculators. But to your last point about control, that was a policy decision that the city council did, contemplate when they were looking at what was the price they were willing to accept. The city council has already approved a specific plan which governs the uses and the architecture that's allowed at this property. The city has already drawn a box around what you can do with this property, what it needs to look like. And so the city council felt that a straight purchase and sale agreement, which is this is now your property, if you're going to sit on it and carry those costs going forward, I guess that's your business. But it wasn't felt that we needed to go into what would be called a disposition and development agreement, which is another type of agreement cities sometimes enter into, which not only transfers the property, but also controls its future development. Because on this one, we already had the existing specific plan. So those were the kind of negotiating positions that we took, and that's why we ended up with the agreement you have in front of you. In terms of the long escrow period, you said this could be tied up for years. I would say that it could be tied up for between 1 and 2 years if everything goes very poorly. There are some reasons for that. One of which is a portion of the property was used by the city yard. And so there are some environmental tests that the purchaser would like to do. And I think that that's appropriate due diligence. I would certainly want to do it if the city was buying the property. And the other side is the entitlement process. And that's frankly because of this developer's experience on the other corner, which is that they try to develop things in the city and they get environmental challenges, which make it perhaps difficult to develop. They don't want to be carrying that $8.2 million in potential debt while they're fighting a sequel lawsuit. They want to make sure that they're able to have adequate cash flow going forward. So that was their negotiating position. The city council heard it, understood it, and gave direction to proceed forward on these terms. Hopefully that answers all of your questions. I completely understand if it doesn't convince you to vote for it, but I wanted to make sure you at least had the information you were looking for.
Thank you.
Mike, you have something to say? Yes, definitely.
Thank you. My name is Michael Percival. I do represent the buyer on this transaction. They are in it for the long haul. They've been in this in the works for this project for well over a year. Thank you for the comments from the city attorney. He hit it spot on. This particular buyer has negotiated in good faith with the council in closed session, and their plan is to develop this property. They are not buying it to hold it, to sell it. They do have tenants lined up in place, ready to go. I can't discuss that here, but they have tenants that are ready to go once this project is developed. So they're in it for the long haul. They have full intention to purchase this property and develop it.
Thank you.
If you have any questions that I can answer, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions or no?
For me?
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Can I get a motion on this?
I move we approve.
I'll do a roll call. Councilmember Peterson,
No.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lilienthal,
Yes.
Mayor Males.
Yes.
That motion passes 4-1 with Councilmember Peterson voting no.
Let's move on to 21R.
Okay, 21R. I'm not going to make you give your presentation, Noah, but I have a few comments on this. I appreciate your work on this, and your staff report alone screamed out to me lessons that we need to learn as staff, because just in March of 2019, as this says in the background, council approved what we thought was a good idea. And we realized we are not in the business of making improvements in developments. And so now we are putting it back in the hands of the developer. And so I appreciate your work on this, and hopefully we can catch this kind of stuff before we make goofy decisions in the first place. So I just wanted to let you know that. Thank you very much. All right. I move to approve R as
Can I
presented.
just comment on
sorry.
that,
Yes.
Carly? At the time, it was a great idea because, because the developer wasn't moving and it was cheaper and easier with cost control for the city to move forward and take over those projects. As it's turned out, economy changed, everything else changed, the supply chain changed, and it's now more beneficial. And I'm glad it is more beneficial because we are not in this business. It's like, and I'm going to quote Mr. Percival, the city is not in the business of building houses nor building developments of any kind. So thank you, Michael. I use your comment a lot, but now it does make sense to go back and let the developer finish that project and let them bear the weight of having to live with us. So I will second Carly's motion. We didn't give you a chance to even talk.
Thank you. Roll call, Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal,
Yes.
Mayor Males. Yes. That motion passes 5-0.
Let's move on to 21T.
Page 1427 is a list which all departments can hopefully use as an example of a great way to show bids. And I just want to point that out because I've been such a stickler on us showing our bids. I appreciate the thoroughness and the number of bids that you have on here. I do want to point out some, I don't want to call them discrepancies because they're not, but if you look at some of the items, the exact same items go from very low to very high. And you can just pick them and look across. And so my question is, in our bidding process, are we being crystal clear with the people that we are bidding with? And I know that we're not in control of the numbers that they submit, right? And so some people may try to pull fast ones, but when something swings from 49,000 all the way to 145, that makes me question what's going on, right? And I'm not expecting an answer from you because this isn't you're just giving us the information. But I just want to make sure that we are being very descriptive.
We do set some criteria, limit the amount for mobilization, demob to 5%. And then we look for imbalanced bids when we do our review. And other than that, bidders could be very creative in their bids, and it's really hard to otherwise follow.
And I would say, council member, on an item like this, which is sidewalks, I think we have standard specifications that they're bidding on. And so like those are the same sidewalk standards that are used statewide.
And
so
that's why I question
with them about what we want them to do.
exactly. But when it says on here, a 4-inch thick PCC sidewalk, that has to be very specific, right? That's
Yeah,
exact.
that's a standard specification.
Right. And so when you look across at number 6 and you see how different it is, it makes you just wonder, how can it get that different? But maybe they're coming from
Can be
far away
interesting.
and maybe they're trying to pad their pockets. I mean, I don't know. All right. Well, thank you. And thank you for that great bid analysis. I move to, if anybody else wants to, I'm going to make a motion, Mayor. I move to approve 21T as presented. Second.
Do a roll call, Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal,
Yes.
Mayor Males.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0.
What about X-ray? Oh, okay. 21 Victor.
Okay. This one is our. I am concerned that we are spending $200,000 on this water analysis. And the reason I'm concerned is our streets still go east to west. They still go north to south. When we build homes, we test our water system as we go so that we know, is that correct? So that we know the capacity of our water system.
There should be somewhat routine fire flow tests, yes, but not like a full hydraulic analysis that we're looking to do to see the water system into the far future. The last one that was done was 1990, so we're a little behind.
I see that you have that in here, and it implies that we haven't done anything for 32 years, but even if that was done in 1990, we don't occasionally test. Because I have a hard time approving $200,000 for this.
It's
and I
not a
just
kind
don't-
of a test that would show what the opposite side of the system would do during that test. So this would be a full model. We would get the model delivered to us with the software and license. We could make updates to it as time goes on. So it would really help us into the future make updates, and we could kind of see. So it's not just what it is now. It's, as it morphs and we add new wells into the system and things like that.
And I understand that the money from the water department is for the water department. I feel like our council has made priorities in the water department, and I don't know that this is the wisest and best use. So if you want to convince me somehow, I'm not going to be able to support this.
I think to know the correct CIP projects to keep the infrastructure of the water system moving forward. This is needed because it will guide us and show exactly where our deficiencies are. They're going to go out, they're going to take data throughout the system for a hydraulic analysis. They would be able to tell us exactly where our deficiencies are. Then even they would assume that those deficiencies would be repaired. And then they'll do another model analysis showing where the secondary deficiencies would be. So for many years into the future, this would guide how we would spend the money to better the infrastructure of the water system.
Noah, what's the difference between when Carly mentioned when we build new houses and you guys test the system, and then what you're trying to accomplish right here?
This would be a complete model that it wouldn't just be at one point in the system. It would analyze the system as a whole. That would be the difference. If we're doing a test in one place, we don't know what else is going on at the rest of the system. This would analyze that.
And what about the deficiencies in the water system that we currently know? I just feel like this 200,000 could be put towards some of those issues.
A lot of those are aging infrastructure having to do with leaks. I don't know that it's, we don't know the priority, the exact priority of deficiencies in pipe sizing and that sort of thing. So this is what would tell us that, and so we could prioritize and see, what projects are needed for the next 30 years.
Talk to us about what would happen if we say no.
Guess we'd be just doing our best guess at our projects to fix any deficiencies.
I see that it costs almost $200,000 and you only have $155,000. So where are we going to come up with the extra $64,000 to fund this if it gets approved?
That would be requested to come from the Enterprise Water Fund account 571.
So it wouldn't come out of any general fund?
General fund.
Okay, thank you.
Any more comments? Can we have a motion?
I'll move approval of this item.
We have a motion on the
Second.
table. Okay, second.
Do a roll call. Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer, Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal,
Yes.
Mayor Males.
Yes.
That motion passes 4-1. Councilmember Meyer voting no.
Let's move on to 21X.
Okay, on this 21X, I'm wondering if this USA Shade would like me to rent a U-Haul and go to Texas and get this stuff, because they seem to be packaging their deal. So if you look at their invoicing and the 40x40 shade, their shipping cost is $7,493.97. And the other shade that is the 40x40, well, that's the 74. So let me get to the next one. The next shade is under $2,000, and it is like 1 foot difference. And so I'm not understanding like how they can justify these costs, or if this is just if they built their invoice backwards. There are other items in here that are confusing as well. On page, let's see, 1802, they have their payment and performance bonds. One says excluded, the other one says included. And then if you go back to the invoice page, it is included indeed. So I know our attorney has a good answer for this. I'm not sure why a company would put included or excluded and then included anyways.
Understood. So US Shade Structures has their form invoices that they send to government agencies. We take those form invoices, we staple them to the back of our city standard minor public works contract, which complies with California law, which requires the bonds. So this is a constant conversation with USA Shades across all the agencies that I serve, because they are the provider under, is it GovUSA? Yeah, so they did the cooperative purchasing agreement. So a lot of agencies have to deal with them. They work in multiple different jurisdictions, outside of California, inside of California, that have different legal obligations. When they operate in California, they're going to be required to get the bonds, which is why we use our standard contract. It's the last document that you have in your packet. But yes, they are sometimes difficult to work with the forms that we get from vendors. That's not unique to USA Shades. It's just come up on more than one occasion, I've noticed.
All right. So your final document is the one that stands, not their invoice that says.
That's correct. And our final document tracks state law. So it isn't really negotiable.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that that's accurate and on the record. Okay, great. Thank you.
So my question, they're charging us $7,000 freight to get something here from Texas? Want to go to Texas? Yeah, let's go. Let's do a road trip.
You seen the price of diesel lately?
My car doesn't take diesel.
Trucks do.
These aren't available on Amazon, apparently. Shade structures aren't, well, never mind.
All right, is there any more discussion, or can we get a vote?
The point is that the vendors cannot take advantage of us just because we're a city. And that is not okay. This is our people's money.
So I would say to that, to the council, my understanding is staff was using a cooperative purchasing agreement. This is a nationwide agreement for public agencies. The intent is to save on costs by getting larger purchasing across the entire city. However, of course, if the city council felt that you could get better pricing by doing our own procurement, that's certainly something you could direct instead of this. It does mean that there would be a significant delay in getting the shade structures up. And I know that the intent was to get them up before summer starts here in California, which is like what, March? So I think that the intent was to get this going sooner rather than later, but of course, that's the council's prerogative.
Get a motion?
Let me ask, may I ask a question of Noah?
Definitely.
You think this is the best deal we can get?
I think it is the most efficient, competitive pricing that we can get. Yes.
Somebody mentioned something to me about ARPA, and I'm not really familiar with it. So somebody was saying there might be funds from ARPA to purchase this. I'm not sure. Can
This-
anybody enlighten me on that?
This entire project at Mary Henley Park is ARPA funded.
Is it ARPA funded?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
Hasn't this been pre-approved already and the money is put aside for this?
Money's been appropriated. Yes, this
Yeah.
is just to award this agreement to do this construction. Yes.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second it.
Do a roll call. Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal,
Yes.
Mayor Males.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0.
Let's move on to 21AB.
All right, on 21AB, my only recommendation on this is in light of the fact that we are, and I realize that there are two other items on here that are similar, adding staff. We passed Measure H, and so Z and AA are fulfilling the things that we promised. But as far as AB, I feel like until we get a city manager in place, a permanent city manager, then we should hold off on this type of reorganization until he has his hands in it or her. I don't know. That's my opinion, council. Because, and part of the thing is like, we hear things like, oh, if we have an assistant engineer, then we won't have to use our contracted one. But the fact of the matter is we always have contracted engineers because we're going to say, oh, we need a water one. Oh, wait, we need a playground structure one. Oh, wait, we need one for the streets. We need one for the traffic lights, and on and on and on. And they're all special. So if we get one that's not under one of our specialties, then we're still contracting out. And so this would just be like not undoing what we, I think we should that's just my opinion. We should wait until we maybe table it until we have a new city manager.
Honorable Mayor and council members, would you like me to explain something on this? So this is not a brand new position. What it is, it's an existing position. It just hasn't been filled. And all this request is to adjust the salary because we were 25% below market. Noah asked us to do a salary survey, and definitely we were 25% below market on this position with the comparable cities. We are 12 out of 12 on the lowest. From 12 comparable cities with comparable positions, we're number 12. So this adjustment to the salary brings us to number 7 out of 12 cities. We are not asking to fill the position at this time. That would be based on, I believe that position is budgeted for Noah. It's strictly to adjust the salary. And I could answer any questions. Sure.
Up until the end of September, this position was filled. David Michelle, our assistant engineer, retired at the end of September. He was doing a lot of our capital improvement design work, saving a lot of money. He was an excellent AutoCAD guy, and I miss him. But I do need that, hopefully, to fill that position to do the same kind of work.
I did a little research on the salaries for this because I thought it was too much of a bump of a raise. And the average salary for the assistant engineer in California is $78,000. We're almost at that right now. We have a cap of 79,572, which is the current high end of it. And what this proposal says, they want to raise it a low of 75,912, which is almost 76,000 to 97,000. So if we're almost at the average right now, I don't like that we would consider moving it to 97,000. I think that's too high.
Was that a California salary survey or what was that? I'm sorry, what region?
What's that now?
California, was that California?
That was the state average in
State
the
average,
state of
okay.
California.
Yes, so what we do is we take comparable cities with comparable size to the city of Hemet, and we have a list of the comparable cities we use. So out of those 12 cities, we have 15 comparable cities, 12 had comparable positions, and out of those, we were last. We were 12 out of 12.
And I also looked at Riverside, which is a population of 315,000, and they probably have more work than we do. And they reported an average of $72,000 and 127 for 4 salaries reported. So it's still in the $70,000 range for a city 3 times our size.
Could you explain on the comparable cities, how they were chosen and why we use those?
Sure. So we have some 12 cities are listed in several of our MOUs as far as comparable cities, meaning they have full service city, fire, police. And out of those cities, we did review the positions, and we, like I mentioned, we're number 12. And even if with this increase, we're number 7 out of those 12 cities. Yeah, I'm not sure about City of Riverside. I'm surprised at that. If I don't know if it's a comparable position, because there's some titles that sometimes are a little bit deceiving. I know probably Noah could explain a little bit more of those, but we did the comparable cities, and we're at this time we're number 12 out of 12. Any other questions?
Any more comments? Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion with the comment that it's a salary range between 75,900 and 96,900. It's not $96,000 a year. It's a range starting at 75,912 and going up to 96,936, depending on longevity and also experience and education. So it is a salary range, not the top dollar that we're going to hire somebody at, correct?
That is correct. And based, like we mentioned, on experience, the employee could start either at step 1, or if they have more experience, if approved by the city manager, it could be a higher step.
Thank you. I'll make that motion to approve.
Second.
We'll do a roll call. Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Lowenbaugh,
Yes.
Mayor Males.
No.
That motion passes 3-2 with Councilmember Meyer and Mayor Males voting no.
Next, we will move on to our first discussion item. May we have a report from the staff on 22A?
Thank you, Mayor. Steve Graham, City Attorney. I will be providing the staff report for items both 22A and 22B, but we'll start with 22A. So this is an ordinance recommending an amendment to our procurement ordinance here at the city. The city council will recall that our office brought forward, in collaboration with the city manager's office, finance department, a full overhaul of the city's procurement ordinance back in May of this year. The goal was administrative efficiency, getting procurement done much more effectively. We received a lot of complaints that projects, that the city council had appropriated funding for weren't getting done in a timely manner, that we weren't getting sufficient competitive bids because, we were required to get 3 bids. So we would reach out, we'd get 1 bid because there was a labor shortage or there was a supply shortage. And that meant we just couldn't do the project. And there were also issues with the city manager's authority, specifically when it came to vehicles, because of inflation and supply and demand. Vehicles used to be able to be purchased by the city manager. They were under 50,000. Now I'm shopping for a family vehicle right now, and I'm shocked at the cost of just a regular vehicle. And so obviously the city was too. So we tried to make some adjustments. One of the adjustments that was proposed was to make a uniform city manager purchasing authority between public works projects, so that things like sidewalks, things like the playground, and everything else that the city manager purchases, with the exception of vehicles. Before that, the city manager had a higher threshold for public works projects, up to, I think, $160,000 in authority, and $50,000 for everything else. We felt that by having the same level, that would make the rules very clear and that would improve efficiency. I was wrong in that. You have 4 items on your agenda tonight that the Public Works Department has brought forward that are under the threshold set by the Public Contract Code, which is now $200,000. Used to be $160,000. It goes up every 2 years. Now it's at $200,000. These are generally lower scale public works projects. And the fact of the matter is, I don't think we could do a public works project for under $50,000. I can't think of what that would entail. So after speaking with the Public Works Director and the Finance Department, I told them that I would throw myself before the council, let you know that the change that I recommended in the name of efficiency is not working out very well in terms of efficiency. It's one of the reasons why your agenda was longer today than it ordinarily would have been. And so we're recommending a change to the procurement authority for the city manager. For public works projects only, the city manager would have the authority to approve those projects within the thresholds set by the Public Contract Code for informal and no solicitation required. Currently, that's $200,000 is the cap. It does go up automatically under state law, approximately every 2 years, generally to keep up with inflation. So there would be no further action necessary. It would just track state law as it continues to go up and up. The benefits of this are administrative efficiency, less smaller public works projects having to come to city council, being written up. The downside is that you don't get to have the input on maybe those small projects that you're looking for the input on. You'd have to talk to the city manager and get the input informally that way. But overall, staff believes that fixing this issue would continue on our strategic plan goal of operational effectiveness here at the city. And like I said, it was something that we used to have on the staff side. We changed it. We thought we'd make it more efficient, and it hasn't turned out that way. My practice is I make proposals for things that I think will make the city work better. Sometimes they don't work out, and I come to you and I let you know this is one of those things. So we're asking for city council approval to introduce and waive first reading of an ordinance that would amend section 2-333K related to public projects. Done. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for your presentation. Are there any comments from council on this item?
I have a question. Is there something in particular that you can tell us that has been stalled because this has not been in place?
That would be a better question perhaps for the Public Works Director. I do know that there's a significant amount of work that has to go into preparing staff reports, getting things on the agenda. Additionally, when the city manager can approve it, it can be approved essentially that day once the bids have been tallied. If it needs to go to the city council, that usually adds, I think, between 4 and 6 weeks to the approval of the project. And obviously, as I said, it makes your city council agendas longer. But the Public Works Director might be, if you want a specific example, I don't have them. I don't do public works procurement as a city attorney. He may be able to point to a specific example if one exists.
Aside from the items that we have on today, I don't have any specific examples for the city. Haven't been here long enough, I guess, but yeah, it's some like the Murray Henley Park projects. We would have, been able to already be scheduling that work. Otherwise, just a speed efficiency thing. And the sidewalks.
And the water efficiency person that you want to do.
The professional services agreement would
Won't be
not
under
have
that?
been part of this. No.
Going to be my what is the difference in the informal and formal bid process that would come to us? And
So it would have only to do with public works construction projects, not like a professional services agreement. The water system analysis would have been an example of a professional services agreement. And the State Street Sidewalk project would be an example of a public works construction project.
thank you.
Quick question. Now, does this mean 200,000 on accumulated projects together or just individual projects? So if he has two projects going, one at 150,000, one at 200,000, he's okay to approve that without going through council?
Let Stephen really decipher. I think it would be, they'd have to be completely
Sure,
separate projects.
It's per procurement. So it's not cumulative. However, staff is prohibited from breaking up projects in order to get individual pieces under the procurement level. The other thing I would point out, like you noted on the Mary Henley Park upgrades, the city council is still involved in this process. The city council approved the budget for that project, said go do the project. What you are talking about right here is approving the actual contract to get it done after that bidding is occurred. To Councilmember Krupa's question, I think you were asking about, what are the different types of procurement we're looking at in the public project realm. So under the revised section 2-333, which probably would have been a good idea for me to include in the staff report, there are 3 different levels of procurement that are allowed for public projects. So under $50,000 on a public works project only, so not professional services, so not like the water people, but when we're doing public projects under 50,000, there's no competitive procurement required. It's considered small enough that we can call up a local vendor, come out there and get it done. Informal procurement requires still that we do a bid notice and put it out there, but it doesn't require the same level of strict, putting out the design, putting out the bid, going for a certain amount of time, opening up the sealed bids. It allows a little bit more speed, and it also reduces the cost of the contractors who want to participate in the project. And one of the things that I know we've really tried to do is make the public works contracting process here at the city more accessible, especially for our local vendors, because the feedback we were getting was it's too complicated, it's too expensive, I'm never going to win anyway, like why bother? And one of the things that I know the council, especially Councilmember Meyer, you've noted on several occasions, we are getting significantly more bids, even on an informal bid like the ones you saw today. And I think that that's a testament to the changes that we've made in the process, allowing that informal process to occur. The informal process will still exist. The only question that you're dealing with right now is who gets to sign the contract. Can the city manager do the informal process and say, okay, that, we're going to get this resurfacing done at the park, this month, or do we have to prepare a staff report and come to the city council and ask for approval?
Another comment I have, as far as checks and balance, these projects are still run through the infrastructure committee, not for approval on the fly, but they still are seen by other people besides us. Is that correct?
That's a good question for the public works director. I don't know exactly what projects they bring, but my understanding is they do have a broad portfolio of needing to be consulted on the different public works projects that the city engages in.
Just so that we have other eyes besides us. That's always good.
One of the things the city council has done in other circumstances where you've delegated authority to the city manager to approve things is you've asked for a report be made to the city council. Even though you're not the ones approving that item, you still get the information like, just so you know, we awarded the project for the resurfacing of Mary Henley Park or whatever other projects you have. Here's the winning vendor. So you can still have that level of oversight. The question is, do you want to actually see the bids and approve the contracts, or do you want to delegate that authority? And just to remind you, that authority used to be delegated. I broke it, so I'm trying to fix it.
The city manager wants to renovate his office. Is he allowed? If we vote yes on this, would he be allowed to spend $200,000 on his office without going through the council? Just an question.
The city manager would have the authority to approve any infrastructure project in the city, including rehabilitation of City Hall, including his office. I'm sure you all would notice pretty quick if the city manager's office started looking a lot nicer than every other part of the city, but he would have that authority. I'm not saying there would be no consequences from the city council if something like that happened.
Okay, any more discussion? Can we get a motion?
I make a motion to approve this resolution.
How about a second?
Second.
And just to clarify, this is introduction, first reading of an ordinance.
Do a roll call. Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal,
Yes.
Mayor Males.
Yes.
That's to approve consideration, waive further reading, introducing and conducting the first reading by title only an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hemet, California, amending section 2-333K related to public projects.
Thank you. Moving on to 22B. Can we get a report from the staff on this item?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be handling the staff report on this one as well. In the city of Hemet, if you're operating a hotel, motel, or other type of use where you're having people rent rooms for a period of 30 days or less, they're required to pay a transient occupancy tax to the city of Hemet. That process generally goes very well for the more organized franchised operations. Some of our smaller operators sometimes have difficulty in properly reporting their taxes to the city. The finance director and city manager are authorized to audit those businesses to ensure that they are properly reporting the revenue and the taxes that they're obligated to pay. And occasionally we get operators who fail to file their tax return. And so the city has the ability to subpoena records and to conduct investigations to make sure that the taxpayers or the hotels are paying the taxes that they are due. We have an appeal process built into that because we want to make sure that we are treating all of our businesses fairly. So the finance director makes a determination as to what taxes are owing. And then if the operator feels that that determination is inappropriate for any reason, currently the operator has the ability to appeal that determination. So again, this is going to be a bunch of financial records, a bunch of occupancy records, a bunch of information about their rates. It's going to be a lot of accounting information. They have the ability to appeal that determination to the city council. And so we would essentially have a mini trial here in the city council with lawyers and accountants. And I've done these and they are pretty complicated. I can't pretend like I understand all the numbers. That's why we bring the accountants with us. But it gets highly technical. Most jurisdictions that I work with have delegated that appeal process to a professional hearing officer who has experience with holding those types of hearings, hearing the evidence, making decisions, and then issuing an opinion rather than having them heard by the city council. In fact, I've served as the transient occupancy tax hearing officer for the city of Anaheim before and heard those exact kinds of disputes. Because we want to make sure that we have a fair process, but that we are not overly burdening the city council with several hour-long meetings with these hearings on highly technical information, we want to make sure that we're being fair to our operators of hotels in the city. We're recommending that the city's hearing officer, which the city council has already appointed, take over jurisdiction of having those hearings. And so that I think will, again, lead to more operational efficiency here at the city. Lastly, I'd like to note that there's been a change in the law. It's not recent, but it's definitely within the last decade regarding conflicts of interest that the city attorney may have. So if we're going to have an appeal hearing before the city council, you have to be impartial, right? We've talked about that for due process considerations. Your attorney should also be impartial, right? You should be getting impartial legal advice. Well, if I helped the finance department drum up all the records and issue the subpoenas and advise them on what the issues were, it would be difficult for me to be impartial to you because I've been heavily involved in that process. So by having this go to a hearing officer, we take that conflict of interest away. would likely, if we didn't get rid of the process as it's set up now, we'd likely have to bring in special counsel to advise either the council, city council, or the finance department so that we can eliminate that conflict of interest. So by giving it to the already existing hearing officer, we're also saving a significant amount of money on legal expenses, in my opinion. So for those reasons, I request approval of this ordinance.
Who's our hearing officer?
Jamar Boyd Weathersby of the law firm Jones and Mayer. We did a competitive RFP earlier in the year. The city council found that he was the lowest and best qualified bidder.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you,
Are
Mayor.
there any comments from city council on this item?
I just have one question. In the staff report, it references the TOT, for hotels, motels, campsites, and RV spaces. Our RV parks don't charge TOT as far as I know.
And if we decided that they needed to, they might want to appeal that decision.
And we
It
never
would depend
have.
on how long someone's staying there. So we do have several RV parks in the city where we have what are essentially permanent residents.
Right.
They would be exempt from the TOT. Transient occupancy tax is not a regulatory measure, right? So we don't use the transient occupancy tax to say you shouldn't be renting for long term, so we're going to hit you with the tax. That's a zoning issue. We address it in that way. But if we do have RV parks that are renting space for transients, and if our ordinance requires payment, we certainly will need to look at that. If our ordinance is, for example, preempted or unconstitutional, that may be the reason that we're not enforcing it at this time. But I think that if we have a lawful ordinance, we should be enforcing it.
And this goes back a long, long time ago. And I think the reason the city did not do that was because we have so many winter visitors, snowbirds, that type of thing, that a lot more used to flock here than do now, but we still have a lot of winter visitors who come down here. And in competition, direct competition with Arizona, where you can park in somebody's side yard for the winter and not be charged anything, we didn't put the TOT on RV parks.
And to be clear, the TOT is collected by the operator, but it's on the transient. That's their obligation to pay.
Okay.
But
okay.
I mean, it's one of those things it's
Yeah.
kind of, it does make a difference, I think. It's simply the operator's obligation to collect it. If the city council wants to look at removing RV parks from the ordinance and their obligation to pay it, the city council is perfectly capable of eliminating or reducing taxes. We just can't raise or change them in a way that expands them without voter approval.
Right. In this ordinance, and I know some of us have gotten information on this, does this also relate to the what do they call it? Not Airbnbs, but the short-term rentals that you can rent your house out to out of towners for, through 3-week vacation or something like that?
So at this point, short-term rentals are not a significant issue for the city of Hemet. But as the city continues to develop its recreational opportunities, especially on the southern end of the city, I anticipate that becoming a problem in the future. It's something that I personally have a lot of experience with, both prohibiting and regulating short-term rentals. Yes, is the short answer. They should be paying their transient occupancy tax, and there are absolutely ways of making that happen. Generally speaking, there are a couple of data outfits, and if you go to the league conference, they'll run into you. They were hawking their wares.
Yeah, that's where I saw what we could be collecting on short-term rentals.
Yeah, they have very impressive data collection abilities to find out who's renting out their properties. They know what the rates are because they're advertised. They know that they've been rented because you can actually go to individual listings and find out when it's not available. And you can read the reviews and you can find out that people were staying there at certain times. So there are absolutely ways of enforcing it on short-term rentals and making sure that we're collecting. At this point, I think when I did just a brief conversation with one of those vendors, and they did like a quick pull-up of Hemet, I think they said that we're probably leaving less than $10,000 on the table right now, and their services would cost a little bit more than that. So I think the general feeling is right now, Hemet doesn't have that problem. That doesn't mean we won't have it in the future, and we're absolutely prepared. to deal with
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can I get a motion?
I'll move approval. What am I doing here? Ordinance, amending ordinance. Waive further reading. Am I on the right one? Yes, I am. And introduce and conduct first reading by title only an ordinance of the Hemet City Council amending section 74-79 of the Hemet Municipal Code related to transient occupancy tax appeals.
I'll second that.
City Clerk?
Do a roll call. Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal,
Yes.
Mayor Males.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0 to approve in consideration in waiving further reading to introduce and conduct first reading by title only an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hemet, California, amending section 74-79 of the Hemet Municipal Code related to transient occupancy tax appeals.
Great. Moving on to 22C. Can we get a report from staff on this item?
Sir, 22C and D was continued to January council.
Oh, that's okay. That's continued then. Great. We'll now move on to city council and staff reports. Council member Linda Krupa.
Okay, the Hemet Library, the trustee meeting is this Friday at 10 a.m. And also you may have noticed that the library is being painted. It's all taped off and masked and all of that stuff. There might be some issues getting to the book return, but the library will figure out a way to help its patrons. And the repainting is being paid for with ARPA funds. And I also want to say that the library is now open what we've considered for many years to be full-time, which is Wednesday through Saturday from 9 to 6 o'clock. It's really kind of nice to be able to just walk in there. And hopefully soon the open access will be done and they'll have that door fixed so that people who want to go in between 7:30 and 9 o'clock in the morning, they can go in and check out books or read or peruse or do whatever. They will not have any assistance from staff, but you have to sign up for it and use your library card and your special PIN codes and all of that. And you can actually access things in the library on an additional basis. So the library is doing good. They are doing lots of good stuff over there. League of California Cities, we had an executive committee meeting last night and a report by Dana Reed and also by Aaron Sassy. The biggest concern that all the cities and counties in California are going to be dealing with is an initiative that has a 99.9% chance of being on the 2024 ballot. And it's by the Roundtable Group, and it is limiting and prohibiting how cities can have fees and taxes, and just putting all sorts of obstacles in front of a city's ability, even with the citizens' vote, to raise taxes or to levy fees for cost recovery in cities. It has a major implication. I do have a copy of the letter from the legislative analyst's office on how the initiative reads right now, and it definitely has enough signatures to pass. Very, very harmful and detrimental to cities. So I will send that to the city clerk and have him send it out to all of you so you can read the letter from the LAO. But that is a major concern. Our next general meeting will be, this is December, it's in January in Coachella, I believe. So it should be warmer. we'll get all the announcements on that. RCTC is tomorrow. There's just a short agenda, 798 pages worth of staff reports. So I've actually read it. Anyway, and RTA, Riverside Transit Agency, is starting the Go Micro program in the San Jacinto Valley on December 19th, I believe it is. This is a change in service. Some of the fixed routes that we've had that have been underperforming in our valley are being eliminated, but service is changing. It's on a demand. You have to go to the stop, but you can call ahead and say, I want to go here. And I'm not exactly sure how it's going to all work, but it's an experimental thing for Riverside Transit, and they're starting it here in our valley. So I'm hoping it helps. One of the routes is going to definitely help kids or people, not kids, people attending Mount San Jacinto College, that they'll have varied stops and better stops to get to where they're going. Hemet San Jacinto Water Master Board, we had our meeting actually at the end of November. We voted to reduce, Noah, you're still here. We reduced the administrative charge, right? From $35 to $30. I didn't bring my notes, which is good. The next thing that we're taking up with the Water Master is getting a report on modeling, a very detailed modeling of our aquifer and our safe yield numbers. And which takes me, I'm hesitating on this because it takes me about 3 days to get my brain working in Water Master mode. But it's going to be a very good report that we get on the sustainability of our aquifer. It may end up costing the city and the different entities that are part of the Water Master. If our safe yield changes, it's going to cost us more money and more recycling and more, feeding, recharging the groundwater and all of that. But it's a work in progress, and hopefully I can get somebody from Mr. Mortazavi to come and give us an in-depth look at what the Water Master does. And just for purposes of real quick, the Hemet San Jacinto Water Master is a court-appointed board of 5 entities: Eastern Municipal Water District, the City of Hemet, the City of San Jacinto, Lake Hemet Municipal Water District, and the independent pumpers. And it is as a result of the Saboba lawsuit against Metropolitan and Eastern for drying up their wells out in the basin, in the canyon. So we are charged with monitoring the water levels, charging the entities for the replenishment of the aquifer, and making sure that Saboba gets their adequate water supply, and that they're the beneficiary, and we all do pay for it because basically we were probably all involved in it. So anyway, that's what the Water Master is all about, and that's it. Didn't have a planning commission meeting.
Thank you. Councilmember Peterson, I know you're new, so you probably don't have anything. No? Okay. We'll move on to Councilmember Meyer.
I have nothing to report.
I don't have anything to report.
Well, I have one thing. Our skate park, we put out an RFP, correct? Noah? Did we put out an RFP for our skate park?
The formal public works construction bid. Yes, it's out. It's been posted. It's been advertised.
Right.
It closes January 24th.
Have we got any bids on that at all, or?
Been getting questions, and yeah, there's definitely activity.
Great. Thank you, sir. All right, let's move on. We will now move on to the city manager report.
Just a reminder, we are dark for the rest of the month, so wish you guys all a happy holidays. Thanks for your service, and we'll get ready to go beginning January. And I'll make sure to note that prior to fiscal year, we'll discuss the other closed or dark sessions in August and July. All right.
Do any members of the city council have any requests for future agenda items?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. And I don't think I've ever contributed to this portion of the agenda before. But I would like us to look at amending the elections ordinance, section 2.44, the requirements for residency, so that we don't have the same debacle that we had this year. I second that.
A vote, or, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Councilmember, could I get a little bit, I think I know what you're talking about, but could I get a little bit more clarity so that as we're researching it?
Yeah, somehow
Maybe
tightening up
constitutional
the
issues.
tightening up the residency requirement and proof of residence requirement within the districts that people running for office are saying they live in. At state law, it just says you have to be a resident of a city and a district. It doesn't have anything else connected to it, neither does ours. So, and we had a lot of people this year that said, hey, I own a business in Hemet. How about if I just park my RV in the parking lot and say I'm living in my RV? And then we had a candidate who actually did that. So we need to be able to prevent that in the future.
So would the future agenda item perhaps be a presentation on the contours of residency
options.
requirements?
Yes.
And then we can get direction on a potential ordinance at that time?
That would be good.
Okay, then that's what you'll get.
I also have one future agenda item I'd like to put on the table. I'd like to take some of the ARPA money that we have available, the $3.5 million, take some of that to get security for our businesses for 24 hours, 7 days a week security. So we can make sure our businesses flourish and not have to worry about being robbed and having people go and defecate on their doorways and so on. So I would like to get that on a future agenda item.
Yes, Mayor, and I did have a motion and a second on the table. I was hoping to do a roll call on that first item so that we could add the elections code presentation 2.44. Could we do a roll call for that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir. My error.
I apologize for interrupting. We'll do a roll call. Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Mayor Protem Lowenthal,
Yes.
Mayor Males.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Now do I have to reiterate that?
So Councilmember, are you asking for an amendment to our ARPA appropriations to be used for, you said security in the commercial corridors of the city?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Just want to request, can we start taking some of these things off future agenda item stuff? Only if they're done. Oh, but that's a good one. Yes. Yes. I should have rephrased that. Can we start bringing those back so that we can dispose of them in a good manner? And I know you guys have nothing else to do.
Yes, we'll get that done.
There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned to the next regular city council meeting on January 10th, 2023. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's to all, and thank you for joining us tonight.